Hey everybody, what is up? This is Devin LaVore coming at you from the hallway once more. And I have a little encouragement for you guys. And hopefully the encouragement will come from a place of the heart and relationship, the ability to relate, and it will just lift you up a little bit, okay? And so, all throughout Scripture, we see this pattern that God does. He gives a promise, then there's a promise process, and there's a lot of mirages, I think, along the way to that promised land, which is why Isaiah 35:7 promises no more mirages, because it's like, I think it's just part of the, time frames can be a mirage, right? And then we can get revelation from God about time frames, and then things can be adjusted in our hearts and all that. But the timing of things and how long something might take, if we can all agree, it is the most crushing factor. The weight and the not knowing, I'm saying? The not knowing of the time can be just the most crushing factor. So last night, I'm talking to the Lord, and I'm just crying out. And I'm not boo-hooing or throwing myself on the altar or anything, but I'm just like, oh my God, like, how long, man? How long is this going to be? Like, what are we doing? Where are we going? Like, what's happening with my eyes? Anyway, I'm just like, Lord, like, how long, And I felt like, those people under the throne, or not under the throne, but wherever they were in Revelation, where they're like, how long, O Lord, are you going to wait to avenge our blood and all that stuff? And the Lord said, wait until the last person is fulfilled, until the number. And he gave them a white robe, right? And said, here, take this. So he gave them something that would soothe them and comfort them, right? And so last night I'm praying, and I'm asking the Lord how long, and it was a pretty long, drawn-out conversation. And then at the end of the conversation, I just look up I'm just like, okay, I'm good. I just wanted to share that, because it's really bothering me, like, not knowing the time frame and how different our life is right now, and just not knowing what's going on a lot of times. And I just happened to look up at the clock, and it was 1:11, and I just could feel the smile of the Lord going, I'm so glad you shared your heart with me. Thank you so much for that. But he didn't say anything. And then this morning when I woke up, I go into my time with the Lord. And immediately the Lord begins to speak to me about giving, and him giving, and how he's opening his hand to give. And so much of the scriptures I read this morning, the giving part stuck out to me. Psalm 24:5. It's like, he shall receive blessing from the Lord and righteousness from the God of his salvation. And there were so many scriptures that talked about giving, but they kind of all centered around Joel 2:23. It talks about, be glad and rejoice, because God's giving you the rain. He's giving you the rain of the blessing of heaven to you. He's giving that to you. It is a promise. And then he ended it with, all throughout my God time, there's a bunch of these scriptures. I don't want to give them all to you, but then he ended it with this Jeremiah 29, because he's talking about Jeremiah 29:11. Not Jeremiah 29:11. It's Psalm 29:11. My bad. Because he was talking about his voice and how getting a word from the Lord and just him speaking can do things. Psalm 107 talks about what happens when he sends his word. Just so much that went into it. And it talks about in Psalm 29:9 that he utters his voice and the hinds give birth. I'm like, wow, Lord, that's what we need right now. We need you to utter your voice over our nation. Utter your voice over our personal situations. Utter your voice over our issues, and give birth to something. Bring deliverance to something, And then in Jeremiah, or good Lord, because it's 29:11, so automatically reference the 29:11 with Jeremiah. So it's kind of confusing. But Psalm 29:11, it says, he will give unyielding and impenetrable strength to his people. Your translation might say something different, and just go and read that, Psalm 29:11. But it's like the Lord starts with the giving, and throughout my whole God time it's about giving, and he ends with giving. And isn't that exactly what he did with the ones who said, how long, O Lord? And so I felt like the Lord was just saying, like, I am going to give to you that which I promised. I am going to give to you, and every day is actually a giving into the investment account of everything I promised you. You know, so just look to what God has promised you. That's what his focus is on today. He's like saying, what have I promised you? Look to that. That is what I'm giving you. You know, a lot of times he said to the people, I'm giving you this, and they didn't technically have it yet. That means they had to pick up the swords and go get it, or they had to take a journey, or whatever it was. But if he said with his voice, and his word says, I'm giving you this, it was as good as done in that moment, right? And so the encouragement is, look to what God has promised you. Look to what he said he's giving you, and really find hope and strength and encouragement in that he is giving it, okay? And so, and again, it doesn't really address the time frame issue of when, but maybe that's what the Lord's saying. He's like, you know, don't worry about the when. I want you to focus on who is speaking. If you can focus on who is speaking, that will help soothe the time frame, you know, because he who is speaking never lies, you know. And so I hope that it is an encouragement to you guys. And just let me know if that resonated to you, okay? Until next time, though, we love you guys, and we will see you next video. Bye-bye.